House of Representatives Judiciary Subcommittee on the Constitution, Civil Rights, and Civil Liberties said Wednesday's hearing would examine the legacy of the transatlantic slave trade, its continuing impact on the community, and the path to restorative justice. Lawmakers considered a bill proposed by Texas Democrats Sheila Jackson Lee to set up a commission to study the question of reparations for slavery. Hundreds of people lined up outside the hearing venue and filled the overflow room to watch. What is the argument against reparations? Republican witness Coleman Hughes, an African American writer and a New York student, argued during the hearing that such restitution would insult many Black Americans by putting a price on the suffering of their ancestors. See, here's the deal. I'm not sure if we share ancestors here, Mr. Hughes. If we were to pay reparations today, we would only divide the country further, making it harder to build political coalitions required to solve the problems facing Black people today. The second Republican witness, African American, former NFL player Burgess Owens, also rejected the idea, saying, "What strangers did to other strangers 200 years ago has nothing to do with us, because that has nothing to do with our DNA. I would like a blood test. Like, that's the thing when it comes to Black. I don't know you, fam. Like, you have so many people who speak on behalf of descendants, and it's really hard to tell who's a descendant, who's an immigrant, who came from what, where your daddy come from. This is very complicated and nuanced stuff. Congressman Mike Johnson, a Louisiana Republican, was booed as he spoke against the injustice of monetary reparations from current taxpayers at the hands of the small subset of Americans from many generations ago. The hearing was held on Juneteenth, which commemorates the 19th June 1865, when Texas slaves finally landed or were free, 2.5 years after President Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. What's the case in favor? Actor Danny Glover told the panel that reparations would cure the damages inflicted by enslavement and forced racial exclusionary policies. A national reparations policy is a moral, democratic, and economic imperative, Mr. Glover said. Economist Julianne Malove emphasized that she wanted lawmakers to address structural inequalities affecting Black Americans. When zip code, postal code, determines what kind of school you go to, when zip code determines the kind of food you eat, these are the vestiges of enslavement that a lot of people don't want to deal with. Lawmakers also heard from writer Ta-Nehisi Coates, whose 15,000-word cover story for The Atlantic magazine in 2014, The Case for Reparations, reignited the whole debate. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. Okay? Antonio Moore, Yvette Connell, people who weren't even invited to speak at this hearing, they're the ones that really sparked it. I mean, Twitter had a lot to say. Okay? I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. When it comes to the reparations debate, the online activity is what really gave it a lot of its fuel, and that's really how you got here. So, I mean, as much as, oh yeah, Ta-Nehisi Coates, article was nice in 2015, not. He said enslavement reigned for 250 years on these shores. When it ended, this country could have extended its hollow principles of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness to all, but America had other things in mind. And, okay. So, a conundrum for Democrats. Analysis. So, are we going to read Mr. Anthony Zucker's analysis? Well, before he gets into his, I just definitely want to make it clear that my position is that reparations for slavery, I'm not for it. I haven't been. Now, unlike like if they were to cut checks, though, I'm not going to sit there and be like, no. So I'm never going to sit there and testify against it. I'm not going to actively work against it. But as far as I'm concerned, slavery and the reparations for such, I believe that there has been compensation to an extent when it comes to programs and, government functions. I believe that there are greater injustices that have taken place since 1965 that we could go at them for, including the redlining, including the zip code issue, which was previously brought up, or, the drug war. There are so many different policies and measures that we really need to address now, that need to be snuffed out now, as opposed to, oh my goodness, well, slavery, like, Okay, I get it. I understand it. Tons of repercussions. But one of the things that happened in the 60s was that it basically flooded this country with black and brown people. And so you can just take a Jamaican immigrant or a first generation Jamaican immigrant and have them, oh no, black people, we're doing great. And it's just like, bruh, this is not your history though. It's a big part of my problem with the argument that Mitch McConnell makes. Oh, well, we elected Barack Obama. Barack Obama is not a descendant. So thusly, I mean, you like, what was that for us? That's an immigrant win more than anything else. I mean, he's an American. I believe him to be an American. But I mean, if you want to sit there and like, if we want to play a game of semantics, then boom, that's an immigrant win more than anything else. A conundrum for Democrats. Back in June 2014, Atlantic author Ta-Nehisi Coates made what has been widely considered the most comprehensive case for reparations for Black Americans. In his piece, he argued that compensation was due not just for historical injustice of slavery, but for the discrimination and depredation, official and unwritten, the community had been subjected to in the time after emancipation. And as those policies continue, I'm curious why we don't fight those policies that continue to this moment. Reparations and in a financial capacity that has nothing to do with the other. We should be like, I mean, I'd rather that hearing had been about, yeah, let's end the drug war. Let's end let's restore the family unit. And granted, these are issues that affect far more than just descendants. I mean, these are also the issues that were put in place specifically to harm and hurt descendants and break apart the families. The consequences in housing, employment, and education policies are felt even to this day. His arguments resonate with many on the left who believe the U.S. as a nation has a responsibility to right these wrongs. There has been an ongoing debate within the Democratic presidential field and now the halls of Congress over the way forward. It is also a debate that is likely to fall on deaf ears for much of the country, who view the horrors of slavery as stuff of history books. It's an issue that is easy for political opponents to dismiss, stoking the fires of racial resentment that have smoldered in America during the Trump era. This presents a conundrum for Democratic policymakers that is more than familiar by now. Should they try to do what many in their party believe is right, or follow the least resistant path to political success? Would reparations pass Congress? No. Okay, I'm not reading a word of it yet. No, it's just not. Because, like I said, you're digging back too far. And the deal is, one of the consensus that they came up with is that, there wouldn't be a financial, in check form, cutting the check. They said I believe like a lot of people agree that wasn't a smooth move, right? But what they're suggesting is programs, as opposed to just cutting a straight financial check. And the deal is that, guess what, you've been doing the programs for 50 years in urban communities in Black America, and where has it gotten us, right? The issue, which has been debated since the U.S. Civil War, has bubbled up in the race for next year's presidential election. Democratic candidates such as Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, Beto O'Rourke, and Bernie Sanders have said that as president, they would form a commission to study the matter. See, and that's another thing. They're not even talking about handing out the cash. This is just about, are you willing to do a study? Democratic candidates, but the most powerful congressional Republican has made it clear the idea does not have his support. Asked about the issue on Tuesday, Mr. McConnell told reporters, "We've tried to deal with our original sin of slavery by fighting a civil war, by passing landmark civil rights legislation." He added, "We elected an African American president." No, you didn't. You elected an American president. Like I said, I believe he's American, but his dad isn't a descendant. He's not a descendant of slavery. I think we're always a work in progress in this country, but no one currently alive was responsible for that, which is true. So I believe that's the end of this story. This is the end of the BBC coverage. The BBC coverage of reparations. I find it funny. So, yeah. This is it's exactly what I said it was going to be in the other video. This is just spinning wheels and biding time. That's all, because there's nothing serious that's coming out of this. 2020 is basically done for the blue team. They killed themselves. They put their own bullet in their head. So now the point really should be looking towards 2024 and honestly, regardless of what happens, there should be a movement towards stopping the policies that are harming us now. Ending the drug war, restoring the family, definitely reforming family courts. These are the types of things that will ultimately create better lives for people, as opposed to, oh my goodness, just cutting people random checks, because you can't keep throwing money at these problems. These problems have to be handled at a policy and a legislative level, and that means drawing back a lot. But they don't want to hear that. The big thing is, oh my goodness, I want this check, I want free money. I personally am not. I'm not going to say no, but I would much prefer to create the opportunities for people to be able to, earn it. That's one of the big things, is that that's another policy. They went out their way to strip urban communities of employment, economic mobility. So what do you think happens? They turn to crime, and you end up with sky high poverty rates. And one of the more insulting parts is that during President Obama's tenure, the poverty rate tripled in a lot of urban communities. So what? No, this is like these issues, these problems, they are more than cash. They are cultural, and they need to be addressed at the cultural, legislative, and policy level. So with that being said, all the internet stuff. Like it if you liked it, sub if you enjoy my fantastic voice, share because sharing is caring, and speak. Let me know. What do you think? Do you think reparations is a good idea? Or are you like me and think that, hey, there needs to be other policy changes? The push should come for other policy changes because the most important thing, I believe, is to stop the bleeding. Like, we're bleeding right now. And, cutting a check isn't, or doing a study to cut a check isn't going to do much good. How about we have a hearing on ending the drug war, and then going about ending it? Or ending, the no man in the house rule, and different policies that have just that have just spread nothing but chaos to urban communities and the black family. I'd love to hear your opinions in the comments, and until the next one.